Last time on Low Budget Binge.
Luz was the name of my dog when I was a kid. There's a lot of hidden depth and unconventional character there, and a fun out-of-the-blue dance number by an ambulance driver. This makes for an extremely stressful watch, but as the story proceeds, things get a little trippy. It's set in the 80s without being guilty of being obvious about it. If you've done your horror movie homework, and the phone upstairs is a direct line to Beyond the Grave. There is a level of depravity that is somewhat admirable here.
And now, the next death-defying chapter of Low Budget Binge.
Welcome back to ML Miller Frights, a part of the Kings of Horror Network. I'm ML Miller. While you might be watching this video on the Kings of Horror Network, I urge you to click over to my ML Miller Frights page and give it a like, share with your buddies across the electronic superhighway, click subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Please get the word out to new folks so we can make the Kings of Horror Network, as well as ML Miller Frights, bigger and better. Be on the lookout for a new Kickstarter campaign for an anthology I participated in called Nightmare Theater. This is a collection of short horror stories made by a whole gaggle of talented souls. The project is being helmed by David Schrader and Clay Adams. I paired up with my pirouette artist extraordinaire Carlos Granda for a morbidly fun morality tale to filmgoers who dare break the rules of common courtesy in the wrong theater. If you're interested in fun, scary, and gory horror, please support the Nightmare Theater Kickstarter campaign. Look below for the link. Low Budget Binge is where we venture down the paths less traveled and look at low budget, no budget, do-it-yourselves, and sometimes international films that never get that top billing you see in the usual Hollywood releases. I'll indicate in the review and down below where you can find these films along with their trailers. Here we go. The Gruesome Threesome is new on demand and digital download on Vimeo. It's directed by Terry R. Wickman and written by Timothy David Clark. The Gruesome Threesome is a trio of short films connecting thinly by a wraparound centering on a man and a woman talking on Skype. This is a very low-budget film comprised of 3 shorts seemingly made quite a while ago and compiled just recently. The first one, The Downfall of Johnny Garrett, is the shortest film of the bunch. Its story is quite simple and to the point about a woman raped and then seeking revenge by summoning an angry spirit to strike back at her attacker. This one, while very low budget, really is successful in attaining a mood of fear and vulnerability as the woman walks out of the train station and down a dark alley after work. There's some fun gore, and this one wraps up without being preachy or overwrought. Stalk is kind of porny, mainly because it centers on a stripper with big boobs, played by porn star Serena Lee, who is tormented by a muscle-bound stalker. What makes this one stand out is seeing Lee struggled with day-to-day things like walking around, running, and simply keeping her top on over her enormously inflated breasts, which are bouncing all over the place. This one is schlocky to the core, featuring 2 striptease sequences and 1 extended workout sequence with the muscle-headed creeper. The ending is over the top, with Lee struggling to stay upright while fleeing through hallways from her brawny stalker, who is wearing only a thong. Later, he rips her skirt off, and both of them are running around in thongs. Stalk is ridiculous and undeniably entertaining at a simple titillation level, and I must say seeing big boobs is a decent way to waste 15 minutes. The final, longest installment is Hair of the Dog. It's an ambitious thriller about a man who wakes up with no recollection about the night before and slowly remembers the horrifying events which lead to a bloody rampage involving a femme fatale with a chainsaw. This one has some strong writing and an infectious sense of anything goes. I especially enjoyed the siege on the house, which plays around with the environment available, is set to some fun metal, and involves some peppy and gory action. Purveyors of highbrow cinema will find a lot to raise their snouts to with The Gruesome Threesome. It's do-it-yourself movie making, but still, the effort put into it was appreciated for this on-the-cheap, schlocky, sleazy trio of shorts. The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw is new in select theaters, on demand, and digital download from Epic Pictures. It's directed and written by Thomas Robert Lee. Agatha Earnshaw, played by Catherine Walker, lives on the outskirts of a dying religious community. She keeps to herself and tries to keep her distance from the superstitious folk of the town, even so much that she has kept the existence of her daughter, Audrey, played by Jessica Reynolds, a secret from them. As Audrey grows older, she not only develops powerful skills taught to her by her witch mother, but also grows weary of staying hidden. When one of the townfolk catches a glimpse of Audrey, it sets off a series of events that threaten the fragile world Agatha has built to keep her daughter safe. But Audrey doesn't want to be protected. She wants the world to know and fear her power. The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw looks like The Witch and feels like a period piece version of Carrie, no pun intended. Everything from the costuming, the desolate and simple landscape, and the language spoken in the religious Irish community feels authentic and lived in. The film goes to great lengths to highlight the simple and poverty-ridden lifestyle of the desperate people persecuting the Earnshaws for being different. While it turns out Audrey is not the purest of heart, the people are not without sin themselves, so filmmaker Thomas Robert Lee plays out a tragic tale where there really are no virtuous winners and everyone comes out with bruises, just some more than others. While there is some spooky imagery throughout Curse of Audrey Earnshaw, it's unfortunate that it's not scarier. There are some twisted versions of religious iconography, and some of the actions depicted are downright depraved and disturbing, but I kind of wish the film would have gone the extra mile for some shock. Instead, everything seems to be high drama but low scare. This is sadly the case right up to the shock ending, which I wish pushed the limits further. I also feel that the inciting moment of all of Audrey's rage is misplaced and overwrought. Her wrath just doesn't match the act committed in the early moments of the film. This is a finely acted film, and the characters really do feel rounded out. The atmosphere and overall tone of The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw is top tier. This is a great looking film that deals with the subject matter of religion versus witchcraft with a mature and steady hand. I just wish it were scarier. Death of Me is new on demand and digital download from Lionsgate Entertainment and Saban Films. It's directed by Darren Lynn Bousman and written by Ari Margolis, James Morley III, and David Tisch. When a vacationing couple, Christine, played by Maggie Q, and Neil, played by Luke Hemsworth, wrap up their trip to Thailand, they decide to party hardy the night before they leave. Waking up with no recollection of what happened the previous night, they grab their camera, which has 2 hours of lost footage that they don't remember taking. Once they watch it, they witness Neil murdering Christine, which is weird since Christine is alive and well watching the video next to him. Freaked the hell out, the couple begin digging into the remote island lore, which leads them to a festival, creepy shamans, and a resurrection ritual. Christine and Neil hope to get to the bottom of what exactly happened the night before and get off the island in one piece. Death of Me is basically a weird combination of The Hangover, Midsommar, and The Believers. The plot uses major parts from those films, especially Midsommar, only the locale and customs are moved from Sweden to Thailand. The film immerses the viewer along with the couple into the local culture, which consists of masked ceremonies, induced drugs, and mystical forces. As similar as the plot is, the detail of the strange ceremonies going on make for some strange-looking scenes. They are unnerving, but I think because we are given next to nothing about Maggie Q and Luke Hemsworth's characters at the beginning, it's hard to empathize with these two pretty people in peril. The rituals depicted in Death of Me are unnerving. While they aren't particularly voodoo, the tribal beats, masked dancers, and primitive decor reminded me of the tribal horrors of The Serpent and the Rainbow and The Believers. But while those films really immerse the viewer into the culture, giving them strong characters going through these foreign and dangerous ceremonies, Death of Me seems to keep its distance from the culture. Everything seems to be at an arm's length throughout the film, keeping a safe barrier in between the stars and the dangers around them. The Serpent and the Rainbow literally dragged Bill Pullman through hell, and Midsommar raked Florence Pugh over the coals. This left those characters scarred forever, and the viewer with them. Maggie Q's Christine never really seems to misplace a hair as she's journeying through these dangerous hurdles. Even when she's vomiting up dirt, she looks great. So even though the leads are in grave danger, they never really show it, other than by screaming into the camera. I do think Maggie Q and Luke Hemsworth are decent actors. I just think that though the unique Thai culture is highlighted, it never felt as if they were in real danger. Of me does have some creepy imagery, and the cultural rituals are fascinating to watch, but it never felt immersive, and therefore the danger really didn't work for me. Spontaneous is new, on demand, and digital download from Paramount Home Entertainment. It's directed by Brian Duffield and written by Duffield, based on the novel by Aaron Starmer. 13 Reasons Why and Knives Out's Katherine Langford plays Mara, a typical teen who simply wants to get through her senior year of high school, make it through life, and eventually retire to a beach with her best friend Tess, played by Haley Law. These dreams are interrupted when one of her classmates spontaneously explodes in the middle of class. Then another classmate explodes, and another. So the government comes in and quarantines the class to get to the bottom of all of these spontaneous explosions. Meanwhile, realizing that he needs to quit procrastinating and live while he still has a head on his shoulders, Mara's classmate Dylan, the Clove Hitch Killer's Charlie Plummer, admits he has a crush on her, and the two begin an unconventional relationship amidst the government's futile attempts to solve this explosive situation they're all in. Spontaneous isn't your typical horror. It's a wry and witty horror comedy that is boppy enough to entertain that person in your life that really doesn't like horror, yet blood-soaked enough to satisfy that appetite for gore. Yes, the explosions are gory, with blood spattering everywhere, but everything is played for a darkly comedic effect. And while it does get repetitious, it remains surprising every time these explosions occur because I was so into watching Mara's story play out. Spontaneous is a modern version of Heathers and pretty much uses that film as both a template to set the wry comic tone as well as the blueprint for the plot. Like Winona Ryder's Veronica in Heathers, Mara is a no-fucks-given type of girl who sees the high school bullshit for what it is. But the similarities to Heathers really didn't bother me, as I feel Spontaneous is interesting on its own. This is mainly due to the lovable quirkiness of Langford's Mara and the way she flits through her life. Seeing Mara find someone as weird and carefree as she was really makes for a refreshing relationship to watch unfold. Spontaneous is an undeniably likable love story set amidst what seems to be a thinly veiled response to the COVID-19 outbreak, except that this was made before the outbreak, so it feels more like prolific storytelling than anything else. One can't help but see the closed schools and quarantined students and not think of the current situation in the world. And while this film may not have known how resonant these scenes were when they made them, much of the film is going to resonate far beyond the screen when watching right now. There are some weak spots in Spontaneous that stand out. Charlie Plummer's Dylan just doesn't have that spark that Langford's Mara has. He's likable, but his slouched and beta male demeanor really doesn't play well against the in-your-face strength of Mara. You root for Mara to find happiness, but when this film offers up Plummer, you just wonder what she sees in the schlub. Spontaneous also has difficulty coming to an end. It sort of meanders all over the place for the last 15 minutes and then sort of just stops when it runs out of wind. The story of Spontaneous comes to an end much sooner than it actually realizes. It doesn't end with a bang, but a whimper. That said, having not seen Langford before in 13 Reasons Why, I was really surprised at how likable the actress is and how engaged I was in the bold and daring places the story took her. Spontaneous is not a perfect film, but it does have a wonderful wry wit and a heroine worth cheering for. Finally, we have The Wolf of Snow Hollow. It's new in select theaters, on demand, and digital download from XYZ Films and Orion Films. The Wolf of Snow Hollow is directed and written by Jim Cummings. When a series of savage murders plague a small Midwestern town of Snow Hollow, the responsibility falls on recovering alcoholic and Deputy Sheriff John Marshall, played by writer-director Jim Cummings, to bring the murderer in. John's father, Sheriff Headley, played by Robert Forster, is close to retirement and relies heavily on John to take care of the legwork in capturing this criminal, but all of the evidence says that the culprit is not a man, but something kind of like a werewolf. While John is adamant that this is a man they're looking for, not a werewolf, he begins to give in to the stress and starts drinking again when the case gets tough, which doesn't help in capturing the killer, be he man or beast. The Wolf of Snow Hollow is basically a police procedural focusing on one flawed man looking to solve a brutal case. I enjoyed the film quite a bit, mainly for the classical whodunit style of police show it seemed to be derived from. The film is not excessively gory, though there is a lot of blood, but the murders are, and even though we aren't shown every wound and innard, The suggestion of the carnage is effective enough. While this is sort of a werewolf film, it's an unconventional one. And convention seems to be a sad symptom of werewolf movies. The Wolf of Snow Hollow really isn't like any of those that I've seen before. All of the night hunting, the carnage, and the claws and roars at the moon are there, but the film provides a nice twist to the typical werewolf story that surprised me in a good way. One of the things that every cop story has to have is a personal hurdle for the main cop to overcome while working on the case. In this case, it's John's alcoholism. And while this, I think, is ripe territory to plumb in terms of man's grappling with his animalistic side, aka a werewolf story, I feel at times the alcoholic angle overshadows the main murder case. It's one thing to connect two conflicts in the story, it's another to give the subtext so much screen time that it blocks out the main problem, the murders and the wolf. Too much time is spent on John's struggle with the bottle, and at times I felt I was watching an alcoholism movie with a little bit of werewolf rather than a much more appealing werewolf movie with alcoholism themes. The balance is off, especially in the latter portion of the film, and I think the story suffers for it. That said, The Wolf of Snow Hollow is an exciting, thrilling, and surprisingly funny film. Cummings has written a script with a lot of wit, providing a unique tone that doesn't make fun of the horrors that happen, but provide gallows humor necessary in order to cope with it. The Wolf of Snow Hollow is one of Robert Forster's final performances, and the film is worth seeing simply to enjoy this actor for one last time. While his role is not big, every time he shows up really elevates the film. There's a whole lot to like about this little cop mystery flick. The reveal at the end is especially well done, and those looking for a funny yet biting monster movie are in for a huge treat with The Wolf of Snow Hollow. That'll be it for today. Please chime in the comments and let me know what you think of this video, how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. If you like this video, please pound that thumbs up button. Share this video with your social media addicted pals. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on mlmillerwrites.com. Don't forget, I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look for. Grave Trancers is out right now, and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, will be out in November 18th in only the finest of comic book stores. And be sure to subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for alerts to be the first to see my future videos. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're